In this video, I'm going to explain the complete flow of PMP using the analogy of Cricket World Cup that is going right now. It's a very important thing to understand the steps it take for the entire project and everything that is involved in the project. So the flow will be in that place that you can understand how each things enter in the picture. So let's go. I hope you enjoy it. If you enjoy it, do like it, comment it, share it with your friend. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so that I can add more and more value to your PMP life. So let's go for it and let's start working into that way. So let's consider one of the most important thing here is that why the project is starting. You see, for any project, there has to be a need assessment why the project is needed. Now, for the World Cup was being done because every 4 years we need to host a cup. Okay, for the country that is India right now, they wanted to do it for multiple purpose, and those purpose come down to two more main important thing. One is tangible, which business case deals the money part of it. What will the return of investment? But the second part, which is more important for them, intangible benefit management plan. You see, when we talk about the business case, it is very straight. Okay, India is going to spend this amount of money, and you can also correlate the same with the football that happened. And if you're a football fan, have a Qatar hosted the entire thing, or maybe put in the comments, shall I do also a video for that? So the cost of doing that and the return you get, that comes down to the business case. That's the number one thing. And most of the time, these projects, the projects that the government does, it's not for business case. Like Burj Khalifa, Burj Al Arab, and many things that Dubai does, it's not for the business case purpose as per se. It's more for the second purpose. The second purpose is the intangible, the brand recognition, the tourist that comes at that time, and the tourist that will keep on coming. You see, brand recognition is something that is the most important thing. Right now, I am in a room and I am using my laptop, that is Apple. I'm using iPad, and then the keyboard of this pencil, the connector, this Apple Watch, all of these are Apple. Why? Brand recognition. So when people knows you, they flow the money, the things start happening. And that's what is one of the major purpose for India. And of course, they want to satisfy the people because cricket is kind of a main thing for them, and so many other things, right? Which comes as intangible. You cannot directly measure. There are some KPIs that you will be measuring, but not that directly related to money. Maybe indirect, not directly. So tangible and intangible benefits comes here. Then once these are approved, you see, every organization have an organizational strategy, and organizational strategies define which multiple projects we have. Project A, B, C. Okay, let's say we have three projects, and each project will have a different business case. And the one which has better business case plus better benefit management plan, both of these documents, let's say A and B, the sponsor or the governance board. The governance board is kind of a steering committee who basically approves the project, and they will be the one who are telling whether the project is successful or not, and they will be continually monitoring the entire project. So let's say they choose the project of World Cup. India may have hosted other things, but they chose for the World Cup. They applied for it, and the governance board passed it. Now the project of the World Cup is started. So once the project started, whenever it was initiated, you make a project charter. Now that's project charter is the first document, is the initial document that assigns who is the project manager. So in case it can be chairman of BCCI, Indian Cricket Board, or chairman of ICCI, whoever is it. Okay, they can be the project manager, or they can deposit someone as a project manager. So right now, let's say I'm naming him Rahul is our project manager of this project, just naming one person. He has been assigned, as a project manager now. Now there are two cases. He could have been the part of the team even before. This is an important thing. He could have been the part of the team even before, but now he gets the designation of project manager. In addition to that, project charter has a high level scope, high level, high level timeline, quality, uh, high level or key risk, who are the key stakeholders and things like that. Once the charter is approved, he review it, he make a assumption log. Okay, assumption log will have assumptions of all the things we are going to do that may or may get wrong. Maybe one of the assumptions will be that the rain will not happen, kind of a assumption. One of the assumptions will, now you see, this is a very big assumption, that people will actually show up. There is a high probability that people don't show up. Maybe, right? So they need to look into the assumption, and I'll come back to that, how they manage these assumptions in a beautiful way, right? Then once this was done, this is initiation. All projects are in 5 process groups: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. So initiation, they have done these two documents: project charter, assumption log. Now comes the next and one of the most important thing: who are the key stakeholders and who are the stakeholders. You see, stakeholder is anyone who is affected by the project or who can be affected by the project, right? So they identify who are the stakeholders, everyone. They make a list of it, then they categorize them upward, downward, categorizing them in a different way. Then they use a very important category of power interest graph, looking at who are the stakeholders having high power, high interest, and they want to manage them closely. Who are the stakeholders who have no interest in the World Cup? So maybe put them into the watch list. Maybe those people who don't want to watch cricket, or who don't care about cricket, like people like that can be Indians living outside the India and they don't watch cricket. These people can come here, right? Because if you are in India, maybe you will care about cricket or affected by it. Then there are the people who have power but they don't watch cricket. They are not interested. Maybe other government entity, maybe different people who are not interested. But you need to keep them satisfied. They can be interested. And then the third people don't have power, but they are very much interested. Now it comes down to the all the media people. Like kind of a media does not have that much power, okay, but they are of course very much interested. Or I can say cricket fans. Sorry to everyone, you guys don't have power how the World Cup happens, but you are interested, so you comes under this category. Okay, so we get power interest matrix. Only three things happen in initiation. We make we make project charter, we make assumption log, we make stakeholder, identify stakeholder, categorize them, uh, and basically prioritize them. And now we put them into stakeholder register, which basically a list of all the stakeholders and then prioritized who are they, what is their power. They are the three documents: project charter, assumption log, stakeholder register, and we are done with the initiation. Is this clear? Put in the comment box that initiation is clear. I would love to read it and get interacted with you. Now, once initiation is completed, now we go to planning. The purpose of planning is to make project management plan. Project management plan has 18 plans in it, plans and baselines. So here I'm gonna go with the sequence that I highly recommend that can help you to understand. Okay, just to put the context, we need to manage all the constraints and all plans are made from that. Like we need to know what is the scope of the project, what is the schedule of the project, okay, how much the project is gonna cost us, okay, but how much quality standards we are going to follow, right? And what are the risks in the project? How we are gonna procure things in the project? You have to procure a lot of these things, and Indian Cricket Board must be like procuring majority of the stuff, because they are the board, they are kind of a governance thing, or a project manager, they are kind of procuring 90% of the thing. So they need to understand. Plus, we need to know about the who are the stakeholder in the project, how to communicate with the project, right? And then what are the resources, team, manpower are available. So all those things have plans for themselves, right? So scope will have two plans: requirement management plan, scope management plan. Quality will have, and then it will have 1+1, then one baseline. Okay. Then quality will have one plan, quality management plan. Then stakeholder will have plan, stakeholder plan. Schedule will have one plan. Communication will have plan. Risk will have a plan. Okay, risk will have a plan. Then cost will have a plan. Procurement will have a plan. A cost will have a baseline also. Schedule will also have a baseline. Then we have a configuration management plan, how the entire product will be managed. Then change management plan. So this may looks like overwhelming. I'll break down it into one to one, because we have 18 plans and 33 documents here. Okay. I highly recommend you go through my article on LinkedIn. I'm gonna put in the description. I have explained all the 18 plans and 33 documents in the article, plus a linked video in which I have gone at length to explain the entire thing. So have you read that article? Do put in the comment I have read it or not. And this also gives me an indication that you have been watching my video as of now. Achaji, now let's go towards that. In my recommendation, the first plan will be making stakeholder engagement plan. Since in initiation, we had made the stakeholder register, we'll take it from there. We'll make a stakeholder engagement plan which has strategies, how to engage with the stakeholders, right? Strategies, how to engage with the stakeholder. It has a tool which basically look how we can engage, which has the strategies, how we can engage with the stakeholder who are important. The stakeholders who are important, we need to look into that. Please understand, only those stakeholders who are important, the first quadrant and second quadrant first come there, then third or fourth. We will look into that, what is their current engagement strategy, where they are currently, and how do we want to work with them, how we want to engage them throughout the project. The stakeholder engagement plan is only about the strategies, how I change the current engagement of a stakeholder to my desired or to the requirement of the project, right? We do it in that way. That is the most important thing that we do in the stakeholder engagement plan. And once the plan is done, it is given to the governance board, and sponsor is the head of the governance board. He approves that plan. Once stakeholder plan is approved, then we make the next plan. That is communication management plan. So communication management plan is all about 4 hours of communication. Right information at right time to right people to have right impact. Like what information is needed, how much detailed information is needed, what will be the frequency of that, how that communication will be communicated to you, which technology you are going to use. Do I understand the cultural awareness? Do I understand the political awareness? Who has the power to make the decision? How I can influence him? What are the ways I can do it? Is it going to be push communication, or is it going to be pull communication or interactive? You see why I'm asking you to put comments, so that I can make this push information. I'm just talking right now, and I'm going to send the link to you to make it more a interactive communication. Okay, so how the communication will be there, and also I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying, because active listening is the part of that thing. And it also understand, are we going to have a virtual team or physical teams, and how the communication challenges for both virtual team and communication will be handled. So whenever the exam has anything regarding right information or right time or right impact or frequency, all those things comes under communication management plan. Okay, so you make a communication management plan. Once it is approved, you, and of course sponsor approve it. Is it clear to you? put in the chat box also that communication is clear. You see, when I will read the comment box and you are saying stakeholder is clear, communication is clear, so I understand where do you stand, so I can make the next video maybe in more depth about that topic which is not clear. Then the next come resource management plan. Okay, resource management plan, basically there are four type of resources: manpower, human resources, and we will talk about them. Machinery, how you are going to get the machinery, money, and material. So BCCI need to take care about all of those things: manpower, machinery, money, material. But let's talk about more of a manpower. That is the key in today's world. Okay, so I will explain this manpower using the Techman ladder. Okay, so this is time and this is productivity. It all starts with when the team is coming in the forming stage. In the forming stage, when the team is coming, you decide, do you want to have physical resources or do you want to have virtual resources? Now, please understand that both physical as well as virtual resources have their own challenges and own benefit. So you identify how you want to get those resources. Then you look the strength, weaknesses of the team members, and of course, you do team skills appraisals, the skills you need it, and you get that people according to that. Now the team is there. What you need to do, you need to make a team charter. This is the job of a project manager. And initially he makes the team charter, then later on the team can update it. The team charter will have ground rules, or you can also have a separate document from ground rules, how to handle conflicts, what are the values, visions, how to gonna take decisions among different things, all those things. Now the team comes here. Project manager needs to be a directive in nature. He needs to tell them, hey, this is the step one, this is the step two, that's how we are gonna make that decision for this pattern thing, that is how we are gonna do this thing, that thing, this thing, that thing. We are gonna tell the entire team, this is how we are going to make decision of that. Okay, and since I am telling them, I am directive in nature. At a forming stage, the team is trying to do their best, but still they are at a forming stage. Still they are like, they are not open up. At the storming stage, the team open. But once they open, they start having conflict with each other. Project manager need to act like a coach and use emotional intelligence, which consists of five things: self-awareness, how in order to listen to them, and active listening is a very important, you first understand yourself, then self-management, then social skills, and very important skill, empathy, understanding their point of view. This is very important for the coach. Empathy and active listening is very key. Okay, he use emotional intelligence to understand them, and then plus he understand their motivation, like how each team member is motivated. Now, if they're having conflict, we need to understand, we need to have a good emotional intelligence, understanding ourselves, managing ourselves, understanding the social skills, the empathy, and the motivation behind that. Now, motivation have multiple theories that we can discuss. Like Abraham Maslow says that unless the lower needs are not satisfied, I will not move towards the higher need. Like we have roti, kapra, and makan. That is kind of those things, basic needs. Unless they are not satisfied, I will not think about creativity. That's Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs or hierarchy of pyramids. Then Hertzberg said that there are hygiene agents which must be present. If they are not present, I will not be motivated to take action. But no matter how much you present them, how much you have them, you will not be motivated to take action. In order to take action, in order to be motivated to take action, you need motivating agent. Hygiene agent can be salary, it can be working condition. Motivating agent is more like growth opportunities, achievement, helping other things like that. This actually makes sense to me. Like we will do more for others as we will ever do for ourselves. So motivating agent is a key here that we need to understand Hertzberg theory. Then we have hello effect. Halo effect says that if someone does one thing good, we will assume that he will do other things good also. It's like if someone is a cricketer, he become a politician, or someone is a film star, he becomes a politician. That's a hollow effect. We consider them that they will do other things. Another way, if somebody that you inspire, they drink coffee, you will also start drinking coffee. I'll give you example. I follow one of the mentor, Grant Cardone, a lot. I bought this watch because I saw him wearing that watch. So kind of a thing that I bought is because he was using it. Kind of a halo effect. Okay. Then we have expectance theory. Uh, we will act how we expect. This is kind of expectance theory, simple theory. Then we have theory X, McGregor theory X and Y. This theory says that uh, people people who believe in theory X says that I continuously need to monitor you. Otherwise, I believe you will not work. Okay. I continuously need to monitor you. If your organization have those thumbprint, your cameras to continuously monitor you, they are believer of theory X. Theory Y says that no, 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 no. I don't want to do that. People are good, let them work themselves. This is theory X. This is theory Y. Then we have theory number 6. McLean said that people are either motivated by power, affiliation, or achievement. These are the three things how people are motivated. Either they are motivated by power, or they are motivated by affiliation, or they are motivated by achievement. Please put in the chat box how you are motivated, power, affiliation, or achievement. Some of the motivating theories, as a project manager, I need to understand how people are motivated. Using my emotional intelligence, I understand their conflict. Now, when I'm solving the conflict, I need to know that conflict has 5 levels. The level 1 or the basic level is problem to solve. People are trying to work to solve their problem. Language is open. I don't interfere here. Let them solve themselves. Level 2. Level 2 is disagreement. Now they are starting having disagreement about each other, how we are going to work with them. Disagreement. Here maybe I will interfere it. If I don't handle it, the next level goes to contest. I try to win and other has to lose. Here I need to de-escalate it. Crusade. Crusade is we start having grouping. Okay, for my people to win, your people have to lose. Crusades. And finally, the last one is World War. World War is like this thing. Now I need to separate the people. Now I cannot like look into that. The only way I can move here is that if I separate the people. It's an important thing that a project manager needs to understand at which level actually the conflict is. And according to those level, he needs to handle those conflict. If the conflict is at a small level, maybe at level 1, he just let them do their thing. Okay, so that's an important thing to understand. So let's say whichever level the conflict is, I de-escalate the conflict. I take it from level 5 to level 2 and then at level 1 and then I interfere it. So when you are trying to understand the conflict, you understand the level, the next thing is to understand different conflict management strategies. We have win-win, care for others, here I care for others, here I care for myself. When I care more for myself, I don't care for others, or I don't care for anyone, or I care for them more. Win-win can be problem solving, can be confronting, can be collaborating. Okay. Win-lose is kind of a forcing and directing. I am forcing the solution to their throat. Okay. I am forcing the solution to their throat, how I want them to work into that. I am forcing a solution to their throat. That's kind of a win-lose. Lose-win is kind of accommodating. Okay, we do it with the boss. We accommodate him. We see, okay, how he's doing. I am accommodating it. Acha, sometimes delaying the conflict to a better extent also come under lose-win, kind of a smooth thing. Okay, and lose-lose is just documenting or not actively involving to solve the conflict, not talking with other, kind of a avoiding or withdrawal. Compromising is basically when both parties give up. When both parties give up. So When you understand as a servant leader, as a project manager, what are different conflict management strategies and which one to use at a certain extent. This is your job as a project manager to identify, okay, now I'm going to use this approach. This approach suits me right now, or this approach suits me right now. Whichever approach you feel suits you more, use that approach immediately. And of course, understanding emotional intelligence. Once you handle the conflict, and conflict can be because of schedule priorities, or people have different requirements, different things. Once you handle the conflict, then you reach to a better stage, that is forming, storming, norming. Here, now you are understanding people more, you understand how they work, their habits. Okay, it's a very crucial stage. If you manage it better, you lead to an ideal stage, which is performing. Here you mentor. If you don't handle, you can go back to storming. Whenever the conflict happens, you go back to storming. At performing, you just delegate and let them do that. It is more of a less is fire. I understand that team is doing, I just sit aside and let them do things. And finally, when work is done, the team adjourn, the team leaves the task, adjourning. Here again, coaching and mentoring is needed. Forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. It's known as stages of team or Tuckman ladder. Okay, Tuckman ladder. So you also need to understand the strength and weaknesses of the team. One of the job as a project manager is to identify the training requirements of the team, of the stakeholders, and provide them those training. Maybe they need a technical training, or they need a coaching, or they need a mentoring. Whatever is needed throughout the project, it is your job, identify the training requirement, provide them the training, and once the training is done, then measure them. If somebody is going doing good job, provide them rewards and recognition according to that, right? Document the thing who are doing it, make them responsible using RACI chart, responsibility accountability consultant form, who is responsible, accountable, consultant form, or you can use RAM, responsibility assignment metric, understanding who are the other people, what are their strengths, what are your role in that. If you understand this, this is the most important topic in the PMP resource. We have covered stakeholder communication team, resource management plan is done, develop. Now you will basically give it for the approval thing. Now, throughout the project, you need to act like a servant leader, right? So let me show you what servant leader is. I basically had this funny, I made a video. My niece was always going upstairs. So I made a video of it. Let's watch that video, and that video will tell you how I acted as a servant leader. Let me show you that video. Now this is called servant leadership mentality. The kid is going up. I'm standing there to make sure she does not fall. I'm just going behind her, making sure that she is trained properly. And if she is going to fall, I need to make sure do that. Now understand this servant leadership mentality, and you will clear your PMP. One more time. Now this is called servant leadership mentality. The kid is going up. I'm standing there to make sure she does not fall. I'm just going behind her, making sure that she is trained properly. And if she is going to fall, I need to make sure do that. Now understand this servant leadership mentality, and you will clear your PMP. So servant leadership is kind of the key for the PMP. How you work into that way, what are the ways into that. Now your resource management plan is done. Now we will go towards, basically, let's go to the important thing, the three baseline: scope, schedule, and cost baseline. Like now what I will do, first thing, I'm gonna go to the scope topic. In planning, we go to scope. I need to understand what is the scope of the project. But to understand, I need to understand the scope of the entire product. Since product is basically the entire thing. If I go back to the initial thing when I started the project, initiation, planning, execution, and then it goes to operation. So product is the entire life cycle. Okay. So what I will do, I will collect the requirement of the product, okay, using requirement management plan. I will collect the requirement using focus group, expert judgment, context diagram, prototype. I can make prototype and show it, or facilitate workshops, value stream mapping, different way. The purpose is I will do document analysis, review all the documents, what are documents there, using the OPS, organizational process asset, policies, procedure, tools and templates, or lesson learned past, or using EF like political environment, economical, social, technical, legal, enterprise. I collect the requirement, put them into requirement traceability matrix, which is actually the entire matrix for the project, or requirement documentation, classifying the requirement in a various way. Now I have the all the requirement using scope management plan. Requirement management plan was how to manage the requirement for the product. Scope management plan will be how to basically differentiate product and project requirement. Now I have a project requirements. Just as we put all the requirements in requirement traceability matrix, we will put into the project scope statement. Now I have all the requirement. Here we will also decide whether our scope will be fixed or variable. And right now, first I will go to our fixed scope and I explain fixed scope through scope, schedule, cost. Then I will go with a variable scope. Okay. So I have decided my scope is fixed. I'll make a project scope statement and I will make work breakdown structures. Okay. I will make a work breakdown structure. The lowest part will be called as work package. I'm moving in a high speed here because this is supposed to be a summary of an entire thing. But I will highly recommend watch my pathway series. I'll link it for the detail of this thing. Once your WBS, this is WBS, breaking the scope, and there will be a dictionary to understand that is approved. Your project scope statement, WBS dictionary, including everything is approved. That is called scope baseline. Your scope baseline has been done. Now this will be done in planning. In planning, from scope topic, we made requirement management plan, scope management plan, and scope baseline. Scope baseline had project scope statement, WBS dictionary. Now we will go to the schedule part. In schedule baseline, what we will do, we'll make schedule management plan. Of course, that will tell which software to use, what are your tolerance, things like that. And then what we used as a work package, we will further divide the work package into activity list, activity attributes, and milestone list. Milestone is kind of the important thing in the project, zero duration. We will check what are the relationship between the activities, finish to start, start to start, start to finish, or finish to finish. We will check dependency, is it mandatory, discretionary, internal, external, and we will calculate the duration of each activity using analogous, past, something has happened in the past, same thing is happening now, or parametric estimation, statistical relationship, or bottom-up estimation, adding all the activities from bottom to up. Or we can use 3-point estimation using optimistic, pessimistic, most likely, 3 triangular distribution, or beta distribution. We will use and get the duration. Now we have relationship between the activities, we have duration, we have dependencies, we understand leads and lag. Using the critical path method, I will calculate the duration of the activities. Okay. And let's say 4, 5, 6, 8, 15, 2, and F remain the same. I will calculate the duration of both paths. So 6 plus 4, 10, 10 plus 13, 8 plus 5, 13. So 23. Okay. 15 plus 2, 17. 17 plus 4, 21. 21 plus 8, 29. So this becomes my critical path. Now that will be my scope baseline. That is my scope baseline. And this is the basically non-critical path, and the difference between them is float. So we have made schedule baseline, we have made schedule management plan. In the cost part, we will make cost management plan. Okay, understanding how we are gonna do financing, who is gonna give us money, what is our funding limit reconciliation, like when we are gonna reconcile the money we are spending with that thing, we will make that, and we'll make cost baseline. which will include cost of all activities plus their contingency reserves. Contingency reserves is the cost of identified risk. Identified risk, which we will talk next in the risk topic. We have that, and then project budget will be basically cost baseline plus management reserve. Management reserve is basically money that you put aside for unidentified risk. Like you see, sometimes you know when things are happening, sometimes you don't know. So you put some money aside for that. That is management reserve. Okay. Now scope schedule cost is done from a predictive point of view. If the scope is not fixed, okay, I'll use again 2x2 chart. Here we have a fixed scope. Scope is fixed, variable. Here we have single like requirements, multiple requirements. If your scope is not fixed, if it is fixed, it is called predictive life cycle, which can be called as traditional or waterfall, all those names for that. Like building a bridge is an example of that. If you have fixed scope, but you want delivery in a multiple way, we can have incremental life cycle. It's a e-learning course. Okay. E-learning course, parts. Okay. E-learning course or a movie series, things like that. If your scope is variable and you want single delivery, we have iterative life cycle. Prototype is example of that. If both things are changing, we have agile life cycle. Okay. Agile is an mix of iterative and incremental. And software is an example of that. You continuously get update on software. For PMP, this agile and this predictive is more important to understand. Others are just for the comparison. All these are called as, since that was plan driven, it is change driven or adaptive. Change driven or adaptive. Let's talk about a little bit about agile. Agile is actually a mindset which consists of 4 values. If you know what are the 4 values, please put in the comment. So now I will know you have watched video till here. So how much time it has been? Almost 39 minutes you have watched the video. So we have values individual and interaction over processes and tool, where we value individual, how they work. It's a very important thing. We have a servant leadership mentality. The picture I showed you, how people work together, that's kind of the entire thing. We need to look into that individual and interaction of processes and tool. Then we say that customer collaboration over contract negotiation. If customer wants something, we produce according to the customer requirement. We collaborate with them. We respond to a change over following a plan. And then working software over comprehensive documentation. The concept of MVP, whatever is made, show the customer, work with the customer, how the customer want it. Let's develop into that. 4 values of Agile. Then we have 12 principles of Agile, which is kind of an extension of the values, like all collaborating with the customer, giving delivery incrementally, helping the customer, people focus on the business value, things like that. And plus important thing, having a sustainable progress. Step, and focusing on the quality, using Pareto, making things simple, etc. And then we have different practices in Agile. Okay, like Scrum, like Kanban. Okay, then we have our Lean, Crystal, feature-driven development, etc. Scrum is kind of a 80% of the PMP agile portion. So we'll discuss Scrum. Scrum basically has 3 roles. Product owner, he is kind of a voice of the customer. He decides the value, what is valuable in the project. Scrum master, your servant leader, facilitator, and development team. We want T-type leader, those who know in depth of the field and also other things they also know. Generalized specialist. So they will be accountable, they're responsible, they pick their task, they will be the one to tell how this thing is gonna happen and how much effort is required. Okay, these 3 people are the most important thing. What they will do, product owner will basically go to the sponsor, customer, everyone. They will collect the requirements. In Agile are called as user stories. They will collect the user stories, and user story must be written in the form of as a user story, as a user, I want this so that this can happen. entire user story will be there. As a user, I want this so that this can be happen. Okay, we collect the requirement from them and we put in a document that is called as product backlog. This is responsibility of product owner to collect the requirement. Once he collect the requirement, he asks the people, sponsor and other, to prioritize them using Moscow, must have, should have, could have, or would likely to have, or using 100 points or monopoly game. The purpose is just prioritize it, what is more value. And the team will tell which is the high risk. So we get a product backlog with high value, high risk. One document that we work into entire way. We have one document product backlog. Now the team will do sprint zero. You see, in agile we plan at high level roadmap, and then we get releases, then sprint. Okay, sprint is a 1 to 4 week duration in which time is happening, normally 2 weeks. To understand sprint, consider the entire project is 1 year. Okay, 365 days, 12 months. Release is 4 months, and sprint is, let's say, 1 month. Okay, so before we start working, the team will look at the product backlog and do sprint zero, in which they will do architectural spike, also known as proof of concept. Can we even do this thing? Plus, they will do risk spike. What are the risks that are occurring so that we can put those user stories in the product backlog so that we can handle the user stories. Now, after the sprint, the first sprint zero, the first sprint will happen. Okay. In the first sprint, team will take each user story and estimate how much effort it will take. And effort is called as story points in Agile. How much effort it will take to complete anything. The effort in Agile is called as story point in Agile. Okay. The effort required to complete anything is called as story point. So we can use ideal odds. We can use affinity estimation, small, medium, large, or we can use Fibonacci series for the estimation. To have the consensus 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 30. We use planning poker so that everybody agrees, or Delphi to avoid that if someone has more impact. One, we have story point, effort required to complete the user story. Team will estimate velocity, which will be the number of story points you will do in one sprint. Like simple terms, how much work you can do in one sprint. Okay. And we will make sprint backlog, second document or artifact, which is the how much user stories we are going to do in this one sprint. How many user stories we are going to do in this one sprint. That is sprint backlog. Okay. And we share sprint goal with that, with the client. Okay. Then we start having daily sprint, a daily stand-up. Okay. I guess I'm tiring down. It's long that I have this long session. It's been almost 45 minutes. I just planned it in the morning to give you value. Do put in the comment, are you loving it? We have daily stand-up. It's 15 minutes, same time, same location. We only discuss progress, nothing else. What have you done yesterday? What you are going to do today? Is there any roadblock, impediment, things like that? It's like a meeting, people are sharing progress with each other. It's a very important thing that we basically understand the purpose of that thing. Okay, how basically we work into that way, and how we can do that thing. Okay, it's very important. Same time, same location. We may have what I would say information radiator in that, which I will cover in a minute. What are the information radiator? We may have that to see the progress in the project. So we do that, we keep on doing, team, keep on working. Then we have sprint review, where the product owner will come, the customer will come, they will check the user story that are completed according to definition of done. We will only show those user story which are 100% completed according to definition of done. Client check it according to acceptance criteria. Again, a checklist. If they accept it, it will go to product increment, third document. We have discussed product backlog, all requirement, sprint backlog, what we are going to do in sprint, product increment, the increments in the product. All those things are there. Now, the requirements which are not completed, rejected, or if customer give new requirement, it goes to product backlog. Important thing that once the sprint is over, sprint backlog is done. Okay, every sprint has new thing. So here he put new requirement. He can reprioritize the product backlog. That is also known as grooming of product backlog or refinement of the product backlog, if you may say. Okay, so now we have done sprint. The first sprint in which work is done, planned, get sprint backlog there. Then we daily stand up. We did sprint review. The next one will be sprint retrospective. It's a lesson learned meeting in which are five stages set to set the stage, gather data, generate insight, decide what to do, close the retrospective. Lesson learned meeting where we get how we are gonna do things into that. And here we close the sprint. We keep on doing it. One more time, we started with the sprint that is 1 to 4 week. We have sprint planning meeting where we make sprint backlog, daily stand up, we decide what to do. We share the progress, only progress meeting. Sprint review, show the progress. Retrospective, sprint retrospective is basically it's a lesson learned meeting. We have discussed 3 documents: product backlog, sprint backlog, product increment. We have discussed 3 roles: product owner, scrum master, development team, and five event. Is it clear? Put in the chat box. Okay, let me show you difference between definition of done, ready, and acceptance criteria through my product example. So I hope you loved it. Let's go with that example. Please have a look into that. I'll show it 2 times. And definition of ready, definition of done, and acceptance criteria through this pratha through. You see, definition of ready is that do I have even these utensils, these equipment to start making this pratha? Okay, this is definition of ready. Definition of done is that once I feel that this paratha, it is 100% cooked from my side, which seems like it is 100% cooked, I will take this paratha and put it there. So this means it is definition of done, that this paratha has been completed. Now I will show it to the client, and if the client says yeah, this is fine, that is called acceptance criteria. Please understand, all three are basically checklist. Definition of ready, when you are going to start the work, is it there? Definition of done, is it completed from all sides, from development team? Acceptance criteria, is client accepted or not? Thank you. Let me explain. I hope that also clears forever for you. Do tell me, is it my speed too much? Because I'm trying to cover a lot here. If it is, so yeah, I'm trying to cover a lot. So then we go towards the information radiator. We have burn down chart, which shows how much work is remaining. Okay. We have burn up chart, how much work is done. Both are data analysis techniques and data representation. We have task board that just shows you the progress. Then we have Kanban board. Another important thing. Kanban board basically shows you how much work is remaining. It shows you work in progress. It basically shows you how much is which is your bottleneck, right? How much this bottle can take. So it identifies the bottleneck, a very important tool. You see, in COVID, we had put number there, how many people can be there. We are identifying bottlenecks. So important tool that we use for Kanban. So that's the entire Scrum that you need to know about that. Lean is all about waste removal. Crystal is all about how difficult your team is. You don't need to know much. Maybe what is XP is like you work in pairs, you have pair programming, you work in a test-driven development where you do refactoring, which is housekeeping. Refactoring is housekeeping. That's it. That's the only agile you need to know. Is agile clear to you now? Please put in the chat box. So in planning, as of now, we have made stakeholder plan, communication plan, resource requirement, scope baseline, schedule plan, schedule baseline, cost management plan, cost baseline. We have discussed agile. Now let's go to the risk. Okay. So risk is basically anything that you have anything that may or may not happen, but if it happen, it can have the positive or negative impact on any of the project objective. Okay, so we make a risk management plan. that talk about the how the risk activity will be happening. It talks about the risk tolerance of the project, your organizational attitude. Is your organization risk seeker, risk averse, risk neutral? How your organization is that? How much detailed risk assessment you are going to do? You make a risk management plan. Important thing, it does not have any risk in it. Then you identify the risk and you put them into the risk register. Okay, you identify the risk and you put them into risk register. Now you have all the risk in it, with who is the risk owner, who's going to handle it, what are the risk triggers once the risk are going to happen. Those things are in the risk register. We want to prioritize, we use qualitative risk assessment, like using low risk, medium risk, and high risk, or quantitative risk assessment, which can use tools like influence diagram, Monte Carlo analysis, simulation, just to put into that which are the most important risk. Please understand, this is qualitative risk assessment is done by all the organization. Quantitative is more of a optional thing. We don't do normally that. Qualitative and quantitative risk assessment. Now that is done, we have prioritized the risk. We'll plan risk response. Okay, risk response. So we know that risk can be positive, opportunity, negative, threat. Okay, so we have negative, positive. First, we have proactive strategy, means even before the risk happen, we handle it. We avoid the risk, making the probability zero or impact zero. Reverse of avoid is exploit. Exploit is the most positive word in PMP. We increase the probability as well as impact. We mitigate it. What is mitigation? Mitigation is basically, if you cannot avoid, we try to decrease the probability or impact. For positive, we have enhance. We transfer to the third party and we pay insurance for that, or we can share the opportunity with that. Or if risk is more than our threshold, I can escalate it. These all are proactive risk management strategy. You have reactive risk management strategy where you identify the risk and you just document it. You don't take action immediately. You make a plan, active acceptance, that is contingency plan, your plan A, or if that plan fail, fallback plan. You make a plan. It's like if fire happens, I have a fire extinguisher or a fire alarm contingency. If that fail, I run away. We are not taking any proactive strategies. I'm just waiting for the fire to happen. And for the fire, we will have a trigger that will say that fire is going to happen. Okay. We have a contingency plan, fallback plan, or passive acceptance. Like if something happen, I'll say into that. Okay. So we have made risk response. That's the entire what we do risk response here. Okay. We have a risk register and risk management plan approved by the management. And we're in the planning phases right now. So we have made the plan. Then in the quality way, we will make a quality management plan, which will talk about the standards you are going to follow. We will benchmark, compare the standards of the organization. Plus, we will look at the cost of quality, cost of conformance, money spent to avoid failures, and cost of non-conformance, warranty cost, rework. Plus, we'll make quality metrics as a KPI metrics, the metrics that we are going to follow to look into that way. Okay, your quality is done here. Since it is planning, a quality is very small here. We agree to the standards and the cost we are going to spend here. Of course, then we will go to the procurement. In procurement, we decide we're going to make or buy. If we are going to buy, who are our qualified sellers? Okay, and we will decide is our scope fixed or variable. Depending upon the fix, we can have firm fixed price incentive fee, want them to complete earlier, or economic price adjustment, wherein because of inflation we want to give them also benefit, or cost reimbursement when your scope is not fixed. Cost plus fixed fee, cost plus incentive fee, cost plus award fee, or you can buy on subscription. Time and material. Time and material have the most risk here. Okay, most risk here. So once that is done, you make procurement management plan, you define your procurement strategy, and very important, procurement statement of work. It is basically what do you want to buy, how much you want to buy, what contract you are going to follow, what do I need? That will be done. So what we have done in planning, a recap of our planning. In planning, we have defined our scope. We have made scope management plan, requirement management plan, scope baseline. We have defined our schedule management plan, or schedule baseline. We have made cost baseline, cost management plan. Depending upon we have predictive or agile life cycle, we'll look into that way. We have made our stakeholder engagement plan. We have made our communication management plan. We have defined our integration, we have defined our quality, we have defined risk management plan, risk register. We have made a procurement management plan, how the procurement is going to happen. Each and every single thing we have looked into that way, how we are going to do. So all plans are done. Now we make project management plan. We integrate all the plans. Okay, we integrate them so that they can be handled, and we make a configuration management plan. If we want to handle any kind of product changes, we will handle through configuration management plan. And of course, change management plan, how the changes can happen in the project. You see, if we want to change any of these plans, we need to raise a change request to handle that thing. It's a kind of an important thing to look into that. I again recommend, please look at my article on 18 plans and 33 document. Very critical for your exam. If you have read it, put in the chat box. Okay, then we will see the life cycle plan, how the project will be developed and things like that. That is your entire planning. Your project management plan goes to sponsor. He approved it. Now you cannot change it. In execution, now we start working into that. Okay, we start working into that. We will, the team we have acquired, we develop them through the trainings need we have identified. We actually train them, we handle them emotions. In execution, the most important thing is to manage the team, how we are going to work with the team, how we are going to look at the team, handle their conflicts, everything that we have discussed. And then if I go with the procurement, like procurement is very important in execution. I have made procurement statement of work here. I will hold a bidder conference with them. Okay. I will hold a bidder conference with them, and basically, if there are any requirement, I will tell them what I need. They will give me their what they need, what they think I should provide them. We will have our discussions, agreements. Of course, project manager will not talk anything about money. We normally have a procurement manager for that, but project manager is there to make sure the quality and everything else is according to the requirement that he needs. Everything is according to those patent requirement. So we may get as a result of procurement signed agreement in execution. Okay, in quality, a very important thing happen in here. Basically, in quality, we do a quality assurance. Quality assurance is making sure right deliverables are being made, right? Right deliverables are being made here. We want to make sure we do the audit of the process. Audit is checking the effectiveness of a process. Are we following the plan or not? Are we following the agreed steps or not? Quality assurance have a very beautiful tool like checklist, which will show is it done, not done, done, not done. Okay, we will check into that. Or it can have a control chart, right? Like, is the process within the control or out of the control? If process goes out of the control, we may have to look into that. Okay, so we will look into that way. We can use sampling. There are, let's say, million pieces. We want to check which of them are effective. We will do the sampling of them to look into that. Okay, how they are effective, how we can work into that. Sampling can be statistical, like after 1 hour, after 100 samples, I'll check it, or it can be random sampling. When you check it, you approved or you just cancel that when you are doing the sampling thing. So very important tool here in the quality. We'll talk more tools of quality in monitoring and control in closing. In stakeholder topic, you want to make sure the stakeholder plan is implemented, communication plan is implemented in communication. What we have agreed, we are doing it according to those requirements. That plan is accordingly recommended. The current engagement and desired engagement is according to our desired requirement. Okay. And then, of course, the major part is basically handling and doing the work. When the team is working, the problem will happen. Any problem that you did not identify, and it happened, you will put it into the issue log. Any problem that happened, identify, put in the issue log. You did not plan. Na? If you have planned, it was in the risk register. You did not plan, happened, it is in the issue log. You identify the issue, you put it in the issue log. Okay, and that is where your execution ends. Now we go to the monitoring and control. In monitoring and control, I'll start from the issue log. Let's say something is put in the issue log. You will do the root cause analysis. Root cause analysis is asking why it was not identified. Maybe using fishbone diagram, like identifying the cause and effect, what it led to it, why it was not identified it before. The purpose is asking it for the future, so that we do better steps into that. Once you have done that, you may raise a change request. Whenever you want to change anything in the project, a change request must be raised. It has to be formal. Put it in the change log. When a change request is raised, it goes to the change control board. They approve or they deny it. If they approved it, you communicate it to everybody according to communication plan, and then you implement it and rebalance the project. Once that is done, you update the issue log. That's how the issues are handled. Okay, you see, regarding the risk, it's very important in monitoring and control. In execution, I kind of missed it. You implement a risk response plan that has been accurate. Now, once you implement the risk response plan, there are two things. Risk, when a trigger occurs, risk owner has a time to implement a risk response plan. Okay, so once you implement a risk response plan, either you have residual risk, the remaining risk that is left, residual risk, or you have secondary risk. Okay, secondary risk is a risk another occurred before it. If you identify that, you put into the risk register. Anything you identified before happening goes to the risk register. Okay, so residual and secondary risk. We will also look at the risk audit to make sure that we are following the risk process, and we will generate a risk report that is a result of risk review meeting that will shows how we are doing from the risk side. Are we doing good, bad, things like that. Okay, we will do that in the risk topics. In stakeholder engagement, we will monitor the stakeholder plan and communication plan. Are we doing right, or we need to update our plan? And if we need to update our plan, what we will do? Put in the chat box. Yes, we'll raise a change request. We'll do the same for stakeholder and communication or resource plan. In resource, of course, team will be released. In procurement area and monitoring and control, procurement is very interesting here. In conduct procurement, agreement was signed. Now the procurement starts happening here. We will do the inspection of the deliverable. Like I bought this watch a week ago. I check if I accept the watch. Okay, good. I accept it. I close the contract and I pay them. Procurements are closed in monitoring and control. Okay, and you don't wait for the project to close. As soon as procurement is closed, just close the project. If you disagree, there is a disagreement. You try to have a win-win agreement with them, try to negotiate, close the things. If you cannot do that, if you cannot have a win-win negotiation, what I want you, if you cannot do that, what you need to do, follow the contract, the agreement that is signed. If people agree to what is in the contract, good. Otherwise, you have to get an arbitrator, a third party, or go to court. That is the last option. Okay, you have to go to the court to handle the conflict. Going to the court never helps. Okay, so if we want to change anything in the contract, administrative changes, constructive changes, we need to we need to check the change management plan, and the procurements are closed throughout the project. So we have discussed procurement, scope, schedule. Now we'll discuss scope, schedule, cost. We need to track number of changes that are happening. If you want to change something, you need to follow change control process. Two things important in the scope topic. Scope creep. If customer tries to add something without going to change control procedure, it is called scope creep. If you give customer more than what was planned, it is called gold plating. Scope creep and gold plating. In scope, it is important. And we control the scope and make sure the scope is right. There's one more thing, validate scope. but I will explain that in journey of deliverables in a while. Then in schedule and in cost, we basically look at schedule performance index and cost performance index. That is how much work you have done as compared to planned, okay? How much cost you have spent, okay, as uh, according to the work. Or it can be schedule variance, undervalue minus planned value, or cost variance, undervalue. It should be greater than 1, right? It's a good thing. It's less than 1, it's a bad thing. This is called undervalue analysis. The complete budget in the project is called budget at completion. If the budget changes, we have budget at completion divided by CPI, or we can have uh, estimate to complete, how much money you need more plus how much money you have already spent. We can use this formula for new estimates. If your organization want to know that will we be able to complete the work into the project, we will use to complete performance index. Work remaining divided by fund remaining. Work remaining is complete work minus work remaining. Fund remaining will be, if you are using ESC, minus how much money is remaining. Like less than 1, here less than 1 is a good thing. TCPI is kind of a opposite of CPI. I hope that makes sense to you. And of course, we will use and check how we are doing in a money part in the monitoring and cost. Like this is a very important thing here. Procurement is done, this is done. Then quality. In quality, we will check deliverable. If it meets the quality standard, we'll say that it's a verified deliverable. You see what happened? As deliverables which are made in execution, this is deliverable journey. It goes to control quality. Here the internal team checks. Okay, if they say deliverable is rejected, we raise a change request to handle it. If they say okay, deliverable is according to quality management plan, okay, they are called as verified deliverable. Verified mean quality approved. This deliverable goes to client validate scope. I told you, na, I'll cover it here. Now in validate scope, client check according to scope baseline, not according to quality plan. And if they say they accept it, okay. If they say reject it, we again raise a change request to do preventive, corrective, or defective repair. If they accept it, we get accepted deliverable. If they reject it, we'll get change request, accepted deliverable, or validated deliverable. Then it goes to closing of the project, which we'll cover later on. Now, coming to the quality, we have other quality tool like Pareto chart, which is based on 80-20 principle, like vital few, trivial many, do the most important thing in the best way to understand. Like I am trying to cover this topic in 1.5 hours, in 90 minutes, so that you can get the best and most effective way of the project management in the minimum possible time. So I'm doing it in a minimum possible time so that you can understand it. Pareto chart. Okay, or you can use scatter diagram to identify is there any correlationship between two variables. Like we identify anyways there, then we use checklist, check sheets, sampling, control charts, and various other tools in the quality to make sure we are doing the right thing. Okay, so we have discussed scope, schedule, cost, quality, procurement, stakeholder, communication, risk. In this case, this is monitoring. Guys, we have discussed initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and now closing. Now closing, follow this sequence. Once the deliverables are accepted by the client, we show them all the deliverables. All the deliverables are accepted. We go to the sponsor. The project is completed. Or if we cannot do the project, we also go to the sponsor. Hey, the project cannot continue. Okay. The sponsor says, okay, the project cannot be completed. Now let's close the project. We start closing the project after sponsor approval. We start writing final report. Final report will have less, like what we did good, bad, things like that. It is written, show to the sponsor. If he approved, we share according to communication management plan. We start writing lesson learned register. Lesson learned register is a document that you write throughout the project, and throughout the project for future project. For future project, it becomes part of your lesson learned repository, your database, how learning to the organization. It can have both explicit knowledge as well as tacit knowledge, a shared experience, videos, things in today's database. It becomes the part of your organizational process assets, OPS. Okay. Then you update project documents, like what all the 33 documents. Again, please go through my article, 18 plan and 33 documents. All the documents are updated, issue log, etc., etc. They are archived. Okay, maybe you update EF, like communication tool, your work authorization system, PMIS, project management information system, your organizational database, those EF, you update it. Okay, we cannot update most of the EF, but organizational database, things like that are updated. So once this is done, okay, you check your benefit management plan, and you basically put that data also in the, it's supposed to go to the final report, that have we achieved the required benefit or not. Okay, we do that. We check the benefit plan, tell them. We release the most of the team here, and if in your project it is written you also need to handle transition, we look for the transition activity plan for them, maybe train that team, things like that. And then we do administrative closure, and we close the project. So we discussed from need assessment, initiation, we have to document business case, benefit management plan, planning, execution, monitoring and control, closing, and to operations. The project is transferred to the operation, and the project is completed. For the World Cup, for the project that we did right now, it is execution and monitoring and control. I want to share something here. If we talk about in the form of a picture, initiation happen, planning happen, execution, monitoring and control actually happen from here. If I give red color, from here till, let's say this is closing, it keep on happening here. You have maximum resources at execution and minimum resources at initiation and at closing. This is the entire summary of project management PMP. Please understand, this is according to the case study and PMI perspective. Different projects may be different in a different way. But I highly recommend, when you are solving PMP question, use my 7-step formula to solve any kind of question. Okay. And that is, read the question slowly. Okay. Read the last line first. Maybe I'm not reading slowly, so you will say, yeah, he's not reading slowly himself. But let me go. Read the question slowly, especially if your English is a second language. Understand the context of the question. Read the last line first. What these, most of the time, last line have a lot of information here. Identify the keywords. Look which process group you are. We just discussed all the process groups. See which life cycle you are. Okay. See which life cycle you are. Understand, are you a Scrum Master, product owner? Then use elimination technique to use. And of course, do the lesson learn of the entire thing. A very important thing which I mostly recommend is to use my 70 tips and tricks. 70 tips and tricks is a small booklet I made. If you haven't received this 7-step formula and 70 tips and trick, just message me wherever you are watching or email me. I'll send you that. I'm trying to, yeah, I found it. Okay, this is 70 tips and tricks. This is kind of a summary of entire, like small line. You can actually read it in 10 minutes. 70 tips and tricks. It's free of cost. Just tell me, I'll send it to you guys. How to solve the question and using 70 tips and tricks. I hope you have enjoyed this session and you have watched the entire session. Do put in the comment, what did you like? How did you loved it? And if there's anything you would like me to improve for the next time. And do subscribe and like this if you want that I continuously share this thing, and do turn that notification on. Thank you very much for watching, and if you haven't taken the PMP training, please join our program. We have reached more than 500 PMP in 2023 with 99.5% success record, and I would love that you join our program. With that, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, namaste, sat sri akal. Good morning, good evening, good night.